Hey, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Russ Rantz podcast. Seriously, I appreciate it. If you're wondering what this podcast is all about, really it's about you. It's for you. It's about having conversations with ordinary people and yet hearing their extraordinary stories. It's a platform that hopefully challenges you to challenge yourself to change and improve. Without further ado, here's the rant. Enjoy.
Well, hello. It has been a long time. Welcome to the Russ Rantz podcast. Know your eyes if you're watching on the YouTube channel, or your ears if you're listening on any of the major podcast platforms are not deceiving you. No, we are making a bit of a comeback here with the Russ Rantz podcast. I know you guys have been telling me for months that you were wanting to see me come back with something, and to be honest, it has been on the top of my priority list. It is good to be back, and I want to just get something out of the way right off the bat. If your ear holes are quite aggravated by the scratchiness that is hitting them with the mic quality we have, you're going to have to bear with me for a season, as this is what we've got to work with. I'm in my bedroom studio due to COVID and due to renovations going on in my house, and thus I'm afraid that the typical podcast equipment I have to work with is not able to be utilized. So we are using some older microphone technology. So I hope that's not a big deal for you. I know you can hear me clearly. Trust me, I've done my sound checks, and I know that this microphone does not lack the quality of projecting. It's just how crisp and clear you can hear my melodious voice is going to be the issue. But I digress. Let's move along. I wanted to say thank you again for all the support and encouragement. You guys have been absolute gems during this journey that I have been taking for just on Twitch, even pursuing that kind of venue to reach out to people online, playing games, connecting with people all over the world, which has been super duper fun. That is still continuing every Wednesdays, 9 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. It has been great. But you guys have been, like I mentioned before, so encouraging, so marvelously life-giving when it came to feedback about the podcast. Bring back the podcast, you said. We enjoyed hearing it. We enjoyed what you had to say. It was well communicated, and I took it to heart. So I'm going to give you what we're going to do first is I do have something on my mind today. I want to talk about hang-ups. And no, it is not the Scott Helman. If you don't know who he is, he's a great Canadian artist. Scott Helman's song Hang-Ups. It's a marvelous song. It's not those kind of hang-ups. It's not relationship hang-ups. It is about a different definition we'll get into in a moment. But I'm just going to give you a bit of an update of where I've been. Because even like I said, if you're on the YouTube channel and you're checking this out, this is different than what you're used to. This is a different setup. This is a different kind of feel to the Russ Rantz podcast, and it is going to be a bit different. We're going to still do some interviews. We're going to be planning to line up here, but I don't yet know about a schedule. Okay, so if anything, this is kind of a catch-up episode. Bear with me again. Thanks for bearing through that audio quality. But since last October, right, I made the switch. We switched from doing the regular postings of the Russ Rantz podcast, and instead we started to pursue the Twitch stream. The Twitch channel of the same name, Russ Rantz. Okay. And we did that from October on, and it was going pretty well. It is going pretty well, actually. We've got a few faithful that have just been marvelous and hanging out whenever I've gone online, just whether it's just watching videos together or playing a few games, which is really my heart behind it. I'm not a gamer boy that many maybe think I am. As much fun as it is to think of myself sometimes as a gamer, I'm really not. I like to play games to be with people. I don't play games and are hindered by people. You know what I mean? So I'm not there to enjoy the game strictly, because without people, there's no point to doing what I feel I should be doing right now. And so then COVID hit in March. And I decided with my wife to plan out a schedule so we could still have a good, healthy family life, family time. And so 3 times a week for a couple of months, I think 3 months, 3 times a week, I streamed. And with the marvelous generosity and dedication of my community, they were able to get me to something called a Twitch affiliate. Now, if you're not familiar too much with Twitch, it's a live streaming platform where you can play games, just chat with people, do podcasts in front of a live audience where they can engage with you in something called the chat. It's just basically a chat function of Twitch where they can reach out, text you, and you get to talk to them back. That's the whole joy of Twitch. That's why I enjoy it so much. It's so interactive. And a Twitch affiliate is below what's called a Twitch partner. Twitch partners are mostly full-time streamers who make ad revenue and get payments from Amazon or Twitch. Amazon owns Twitch. And a Twitch affiliate does still receive ad revenue and get some perks. You can actually subscribe to my channel now if you want to financially support it, which is really cool. I got custom emotes if you want to subscribe and use those emotes to interact with me in the chat. Very cool. And so that happened, I think, in the summer around June. My community was able to get my statistics up enough where I became a Twitch affiliate. And on my vision mission board that I'd set up for myself, I wasn't planning on trying to become a Twitch affiliate until December of this year. So just so mind blowing how great the progress was. And then something happened. I got really tired. I'm not going to use the word burnout because it wasn't like that, but I've gained some maturity over the years where I sensed where burnout could potentially arise. And I sensed that I was on the verge of a burnout if I kept going down the path I was, which was the steady streaming schedule and the time dedicated to that channel. So I took a break and I needed to do some soul searching because the premise remained I still want to communicate with people, to encourage people, to empower people to chase their dreams, fulfill their purpose that is meant for their lives. That is the basis of Russ Rantz, of the brand that I'm trying to build. That is the basis, is I am your biggest cheerleader. If you need someone to encourage you, if you need someone to hold you accountable to change, to setting yourself up to win in life, if there's been something that's been on your mind, on your heart, that you've been procrastinating at doing, I want to be your biggest fan, your biggest cheerleader, but also your biggest accountability partner. There's no point in encouraging you if it's just empty, shallow talk and you're not actually going to chase your dreams. Okay. And so, I needed to do some soul searching because that dream was still alive. That dream was still definitely a part of what I needed to do, but I was running out of gas, which meant that something wasn't giving back to me. Something wasn't feeding my system with satisfaction in order to empower me to have more energy to keep pouring into it. I think of it as a negative cycle. I was giving into the Twitch stream more than I was getting back from it. And obviously I told you guys know that I was going into it to give to people. But the problem is if you focus only on giving and you're not watching yourself healthfully on how you're getting filled back up, you will burn out. That is how burnout occurs, is the output is greater than the input. Okay. So I did some soul searching. I took about a month and a half off of the Twitch stream. And I was doubting myself. I was like, is this still a platform that I want to be a part of? Is this still the area I want? Do I want to go after the gamer guys? Do I want to go after the gamer girls? Hang out with people that mostly spend their time on their computers, on their online community? And the short of the long of it was yes. I still very much so want to be a part of the gaming community, even though I myself am not the most talented gamer. I wanted to be a part of their world and still go to them. Okay, so that didn't change. That's still part of the crux of what I wanted to do. So what was the issue? And the issue was the content and the way that I wanted to build this platform so that more and more people could benefit from it, give me feedback, and we could build this community, because that's essentially what it is. So after some soul searching and some good advice from my good friend Raymond Bergen, who is a marvelous Twitch streamer, he's building a marvelous community. I will give him a plug. He's called Sag Dad, SAAG Dad. That's Sierra Alpha Alpha Golf Dad on Twitch. I highly encourage you, if you do engage with Twitch or you don't even have a Twitch account, I would still encourage you to go onto Twitch, create an account, and follow that marvelous man, because the things he's doing online with such positivity and generosity and building a safe place for people to hang out and have a good time is incredibly inspiring. And so Sagdad is his Twitch stream name. He's my good friend Ray. And he FaceTimed me during this time. I told him I was taking a break, and he said, "Dude, you're in a different season than I am." He's in his 40s. His son's in grade 12. He's got more free time. He's able to build his online platform a different way. He said, "You have to maximize your time. The desire hasn't left you, but your capacity does not match what you want to be. You want to be this guy that maybe streams all the time and builds up your community, but you can't stream all the time. You got 3 kids demanding your attention. They're only going to get older. You've got your wife. You've got your house. You're in a very chaotic time." It's true, guys. I'm a young dad. Okay. Why am I telling you this? Again, I'm just trying to bring you guys up to speed, and then we're going to get into what I want to talk about on the podcast. Okay, so bear with me here. If you guys are at work, thank you, thank you, thank you. If you guys are on the road, driving, if you're just at home on your computer, whatever you're doing, I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart again for listening to the Russ Rantz podcast. Okay, so after that, did some soul searching. We decided we are going to be doing a little bit of different content with my personality. I've been called a pinball before. I've been called a little bit of a gong show before, a very boisterous, flamboyant young man that I am. So I've decided to diversify how the Russ Rantz platform is going to come at you with different engagement. Okay, so here it is. Here it is. And then we're going to move on. We are going to try to produce 1 to 2 podcasts a month. Okay, before, right back in the glory days, as some would call it, I was doing a podcast every week. That's not going to happen. But can we try to do a podcast every 2 weeks? I think we're going to try that. Okay, and if it fails, hey, you can either hold me accountable to it, or I'll update you guys and say, hey, I just can't survive. Russell's burning out again, or hey, it's going marvelous. Let's just keep going. So twice a month, we're going to try podcasts. Okay. I'm also making some YouTube videos, not like the ones you've possibly seen. You've seen the Does Russ Hate series on YouTube. That's being shelved for now, not because it wasn't a marvelous series. Does Russ hate DUI? Does Russ hate origami? Does Russ hate fishing? Does Russ hate backflips? Like, I did 4 videos, okay? They're very labor intensive to build and edit. I'm just a one-man crew right now. But also, they weren't something I was totally passionate about. They were good content. They were funny. It was a joy to see my friends and family laugh at the videos of my discomfort and see how uncomfortable I was in a lot of these scenarios. Believe it or not, I really still hate arts and crafts, so doing origami was a big stretch for me. But we're going to try to do a YouTube video maybe once a month. I'm just keeping it realistic right now. That's not that much per year. That's 12 videos a year. But if I'm able to bust out a few more, awesome. But if not, that's what I'm going to try to commit to, is 1 video a month. Okay. And then we're still going to stream regularly on Wednesdays. That day may change if I get some feedback and people are like, hey man, I would totally tune in to watch you and support you more, just even interact, hang out with you, help you build your community. But Wednesdays are trash for me to be a part of. Some of my viewers have already spoken on potentially Wednesdays not being the best. So if you want to get in on that conversation and you would love to hang out more with me online, by all means, let me know. If there's a weekday. Weekends are out, guys. That was a part of the positive stuff I talked about with my wife. We set up date nights for the first time in our marriage as a regular thing. So weekly Saturday nights is date night. It has been marvelous for our marriage. Highly recommend to those couples out there, married or not, to try to set aside a date or a time per week. Or every other week, if that's the way that works best for your personalities or your budget or whatever. We don't even like always eat out or something. Sometimes it's just a movie and popcorn, but it's dedicated us time. So that's just a little nugget of advice. You don't have to take it from me, but I've been married for 8 years, making it work so far. It's been a lot of fun. So yeah, let me know if a different weekday would work better. I'm trying to kind of take a survey, but we're going to be doing that stream still every week. Now, why is that? Why does that take precedence over the podcast and the YouTube video? It's a lot easier to do and produce. You click a button. I have a few. You're even on YouTube. You're seeing kind of the platform presets that I've set up on Twitch. It's already there and made. You click stream, go live, and I'm there on Twitch. And it's just like that. It's just a super easy, functional way for me to be online, engaging with people, playing games, and hanging out. That's the easiest way. It still stands as the easiest platform for me to do stuff as Russ Rantz. Okay, so we're gonna do that every week, and then the podcast every other week, and then the YouTube video once a month. That is the breakdown. Okay. How are we doing for time here? Oh, geez. Okay. Well, hey, I hope you're happy that I'm back here. Okay. We're around 12 minutes, 13 minutes into this. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on, shall we? There's been something in this period of time, you guys, where I've had the benefit of being able to stop and reflect on how my life has been. Okay. This has been actually an incredibly tense, but also rewarding and educational journey about dreams and pursuing them. You guys have, if you've heard any of my previous episodes, in which, if you haven't, by the way, I highly encourage you to look it up. I'm on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, those 3 main podcast platforms. I'm also on Stitcher. You can go back and search Russ Rantz, RussRantz. And you can hear my previous podcasts, but a lot of them are about purpose, about making yourself better, about chasing your dreams, about not hesitating, about trying to build up systems within that to win. Okay, that's what I'm all about, is trying to win. And I'm trying to figure it out as I go. But as I keep verbalizing and processing it out loud in my podcasts and with my friends and family, I realize that I'm starting to learn and observe better practices from other people. And I'm going to tell you in a moment how I've been actually very privileged as of late to get in some inner circles with very successful individuals and pick their brains about what makes them successful, how they stay on top, how they're still the cream of the crop to this day, how they're able to fulfill their dreams and desires and also become better people. Okay, it's been a lot of fun to see. It's been and so this has been something that's been smacking me in the face even during the time that I've been gone from the podcast. You guys, I've never stopped thinking about this stuff. I've never stopped trying to encourage people. Anyone who's reached out to me during this period would know that I'm trying to be your biggest cheerleader still. We're just now changing it back where you're going to hear me a little bit on the podcast every other week. Okay, maybe with a bonus episode here or there, which is great. But my brand has never changed, which is to change the world, change yourself, and then help change others in a good way, not in a malicious, manipulative, terrible way, as some world leaders have done in our history. Okay, don't go comparing me with those people. Okay, and so as that has been slamming into me, there's been something as of late that has really caught my notice, and the same theme has popped up in my life in the last few months. Whenever that happens, I typically try to write it down. And now, thankfully, with the relaunch of the Russ Rantz podcast coming back, I've decided this is where we're going to kind of relaunch off of. Is if it's caught my attention enough organically, I think it's important enough to kind of reiterate on a podcast. And then I want you guys to tell me what you think, okay? And just again, a quick plug here. Tell me what you think on Instagram. I'm there, Russ Rantz, RussRantz, okay? And if you don't go on Instagram and you're a Facebook only person, I'm kind of, deciding over whether or not I want to create a Facebook group or not. I was never really a fan of it, but if people are like, that's the only way you can engage with us more, well, then it's a means to an end. It's worth it. Okay. So what I want to talk about today is hanging up, making sure you have hang-ups. Making sure you have hang-ups. What are the hang-ups? And as I've already alluded to at the very beginning when I went into this, this is not based on the song by Scott Hellman of Hang-Ups. If you don't know what I'm talking about, look him up. Scott Hellman, Hellman. Great song, very catchy. But he's talking about hang-ups, about people, things that drag people down, right? What's your hang-up? What are the hang-ups on that person? I'm experiencing some hang-ups, right? That's typically a catchphrase for stalling out, for hitting a hiccup, for hitting a wall, hitting a barrier on something. But as of late, I've actually learned that it's something that empowers people if you use it correctly. And it's not the same context at all, but it's the same verbiage, but it's a different meaning. Years ago, I had the privilege of going to a training facility for a year, not a whole year. They brought us in every 3 months, 3 to 5 months, I think, maybe every 6 months. We'd go down to little old Regina, Saskatchewan, and attend a conference for a weekend or kind of a retreat for leaders in training, which is basically the premise, which is super awesome. And I was invited to be a participant. I was very honored. And I went to this conference, and one of our teachers there, his name is Kevin Beeson, a marvelous man, one of the most wholesome, encouraging people I've ever met, but also one of the most creative and inspirational leaders that I've also met. He's just super down to earth. When you talk to him, you feel like you're his buddy, and at the same time, that guy has the power to rock your world with advice and suggestion, and also poke you with accountability, where after you leave, you feel like not only are you a better person, but that you're going to become a better person, and he expects that from you. That's the kind of person Kevin Beeson is. So I want to just give him a quick shout out to honor him. And he gave a bit of a coaching session to us and the rest of the people invited to this retreat about hangups, picking your hangups. And he says, you know how we always hang out with people? He says, it's not very original, it's not very clever on my end, but I want to encourage you guys to find hangups. People who are on a higher degree of thinking, on a higher level of processing, or a higher level of living their life than you are. And I want you to chase them, and I want you to make them a regular part of your life. I want you to find hangups. I want you to hang up with people and identify them in your life as hangups, as the hang-uppers, right? Instead of hanging out with people, you're going to hang up. Now, of course, the opposite of that would be people that drag you down. And, we've all heard messages, podcasts, advice, teacher conferences, retreats about, don't hang out with bad company. I don't know if you're familiar with that analogy where people typically, I was raised in a youth group as a teenager, and they typically get one guy on a chair. They'd get this kid to stand on a chair and be like, okay. And, the youth leader would stand on the ground and he'd just give him his hand and he'd say, take my hand. The little kid or whatever on the chair takes it and he says, okay, try to pull me on the chair with you. And the kid's lifting with all their might. And of course, the big adult can't be lifted down, or lifted up rather, right? Can't be lifted up on the chair. But then the teacher will often say, "Okay, give me your hand again," and I'm going to try to pull you off the chair. And what happens? Yank it's very easy for the kid. Not only the weight and strength, we get that, but the analogy was it's easier to be pulled down by bad company than to pull them up. Okay? And you know what? I stand behind that. I do agree. But does that mean that I'm never going to hang out with people that are in a lower state of mind? And when I say lower state of mind, I don't mean they're stupid or totally incompetent. It just means that they're not on the same degree of some principles that I'm trying to work on, like finances. Some people struggle with budgeting, and it's they're not for lack of trying. Some of them really, really are trying their best to budget. They're trying their best to work hard at saving, but they just can't put it together sometimes. The credit card debt, or they're not very good at structuring a budget together, or whatever. Okay, that doesn't mean you don't hang out with them. If anything, they will glean off of you, and you will make them a better person, which we'll get to in a moment again. But you want to find someone, if you want to be financially wealthy, I would suggest and highly encourage that you start researching and looking into people who are financially wealthy. And if they're personal people in your personal circles, I would encourage you to try to take them out for coffee or engage with them on Facebook and Facebook message them and say, "Hey, I am just looking into wealth. What has been your observances? Is there any tips you'd like to give someone like me who doesn't totally have a clue but would love to know some keys to being successful? You're already living those principles out. That's where I want to get to someday. What's the secret or secrets or just some advice?" Okay? Hang-ups is that. It's finding people that are already modeling the life you want to live. So I've already alluded to the big one: financial independence, financial wealth, independently wealthy, a lot of people say. What about people who are good communicators? What are people that are really good social influencers? What if you want to be a social influencer, right? You want to be a professional influencer on Instagram, Facebook, whatever. You want to market brands, whatever. I would suggest maybe you poke a few influencers. Some might not get back to you. None might get back to you. But some might. Some might say, "Hey, man, I can't talk for long, but the best piece of advice I'd give you is this." Gary Vaynerchuk. I'm a big fan of Gary V. I do not listen to him all the time, and by that I don't mean his advice. I mean I can't listen to his content all the time. That guy is a beast when it comes to consistent, awesome, inspirational, and critical thinking content. You don't have to agree with everything he says, but the guy is successful, and he's got just a different level of thinking about it. And he talks about how young people come to him saying, "I want to be so successful, but I'm just scared. I don't know what to do. So I'm just thinking about maybe getting a solid job, going to university, becoming, something with a degree and going into that." And Gary's like, "Why not just try to intern at your favorite?" Like this one, I think it was one dude came to him saying he wants to be a music producer, but he just doesn't know. He doesn't have the money to go to university, become a sound engineer for 4 years, and then he doesn't even know how to market himself. And Gary's like, "Why don't you reach out to every major studio and just try to throw out as many lines as possible saying, 'Hey, you've got an able-bodied worker here. I'll work for free, intern under you for this, for your infrastructure. I would love to just be able to work there and just try to be a gopher, essentially, whatever you need me to do, but I would love to intern there for free.'" He's like, "Who knows? Maybe someone will say, 'Sure, we need a body,' or 'There's an intern program. Why don't you register and see if we accept you?'" He's like, that would be worth so much more than just playing it safe, getting your degree, and hoping you make some money. Why not chase your dream? You're single, or you've got the effort. I don't know, and maybe you just go into that. So again, let's rein this back in for a moment. What Gary Vee is doing is with anyone that's trying to engage with him, he's being someone that you hang up with. And sometimes that has to be what it is. It has to be a platform or a podcast. It can't be people, because maybe your circle of friends right now are either equal peers where they don't take away from you, but you also don't give back to them. The bucket dipper, bucket filler analogy. I don't know if you guys have heard that. Um, but your friends might not be in a state where they're going to push you to chase the dreams that they already know about that's within you. If you've told your friends over and over again you want to be a famous music producer, but they don't want to push you because they're too busy living their own lives, which is totally valid. Everyone's trying to survive together. Maybe you have to listen to a Gary Vaynerchuk or Gary Vee podcast, and then it inspires you to do different levels of thinking, right? That's still a hang up. But yeah, Gary Vee just says to people, he's like, just chase people you want to be and ask them if they would be willing to lend some advice or let you work with them or shadow them. It doesn't even have to be for money. Just say for free. What would it need for me to glean off of you? And I really like that advice from Gary Vaynerchuk. I thought that was awesome. So hang-ups. Hang-ups are so, so important. And I, myself, guys, I'm kind of winging it because what I still dream of doing is being a person of influence. I'm reading some John Maxwell right now, The 360-Degree Leader. This is my second time reading it. Highly recommend that book if you are mid-level management or you're even low-level employee in a franchise or a corporation, but you want to impact and influence and lead people. You want to be a leader. Read that book, The 360-Degree Leader by John Maxwell. Highly recommend it. But I'm reading this book, and so my dream, unless you guys haven't heard it before, is to be an influencer, to have a platform where people can feel safe, like they're not going to be judged by me, but that I can hear them with empathy, hear them with understanding, and help them get on the right track to being successful. I want to be an igniter of dreams, okay? And if you're saying, man, this sounds so hokey, this sounds so poetic, that's cool, that's fine. You don't have to listen to my podcast, but that is what we're here for, is we're all here to get better. That's why I did the podcast in the first place a few years ago, okay? So that's my dream. So then how would I get there? I have to find hangups. And so, thankfully, I've been very blessed as of late in my job, my full-time work right now. COVID has been crazy for everyone, and I just want to say to anyone listening who's been affected by COVID, whether you lost your job, you're still trying to find employment, or work is tense because of it, or whatever, I just want to say I am here for you, and I am supporting and rooting for you to either find your next job with amazing success, that your company would continue to succeed if you've stuck around. They're trying to get a leg up, and lastly, that if your world's just been shaken as a total, it's been a very stressful time. So I just want to give that quick shout out to you guys too. You guys are all champs. I know that this sucks amidst COVID. Of course, we can't start into the podcast without acknowledging, this global pandemic and how much of a hellhole it's been for some people. Okay. But I've been very privileged that I have a job. Okay. And just due to some crazy changes that were absolutely necessary in our company, but were really tough, there were a lot of layoffs. There were a lot of cuts, which is so sucky. But COVID was just that factor where our company got hit so financially where if we were going to survive, we had to lay off staff. We had to keep going. So I was very blessed and fortunate to keep my job. But not only that, I was elevated to a higher position because of my skill set, and they said we need you to fill this role. And I hope I've been doing a good job. I've been told I've been doing a good job, which is great. But because of that role change, I have now been also hanging up with higher level management in this company, and it has not been unnoticed by me that I have changed some of my regular interactions in my company. And with that comes a responsibility to glean from those hang-uppers, to glean from that high level management, ask them questions, not just about business sense, but leadership, empowering people, confrontation, conflict advice, conflict resolution, budgeting, strategy. There's been a plethora of things that I've been trying to poke and pick their brains on, you guys, because this is a rare opportunity, right? And this doesn't happen to everybody, but everyone has someone in their company, hopefully, you can hang up with. And if you can't, John Maxwell would encourage you either assess if there are people of influence and good leaders that will recognize you and want to empower you and want you to win, because that's what a healthy corporation does, or it's a very clear idea that maybe you should be looking for a healthy corporation and try to make a very sane and predictable exit strategy, because I'm not telling you to just quit your job, okay? I'm not going to take responsibility for that. But I'm just going to say that sometimes that can be an assessment of where you're at. But sometimes in your corporation, you have people to hang up with. Now, with my hanging up, I've had the absolute pleasure and privilege, like I said, of hanging out with high-level management, high-level leaders in our company. And one of them, phenomenal gentleman, great wisdom on wealth, entrepreneurship, hard work, success, vision. Um, he's just been a tremendous guy. He's been, I don't know what the right word is, but he's been just poking me, making sure I try to stay better, trying to make sure that I become a better person, making sure that I'm on the up and up, that I'm thinking critically through my decisions as a leader. The staff that work under me now, the departments that work beside me, the other leaders I now have to work with because I've been elevated to this higher level. He's been fantastic. And above him, he has a mentor and someone he's been hanging out with. And because I hang out with him, I consider this gentleman a mentor. His name is Chris, fantastic guy. I've been hanging out with people he hangs out with, and His mentor and leader has been someone that I have thus been sucked into to be able to hang out with at times. And so I asked this gentleman, Chris's mentor, some advice. I said, "Hey, you're very entrepreneurial. You're a great leader, but obviously you've also had success with expansion and independent wealth. I'm young. I'm 28 years old, but I don't have it all together. I know all of our journeys are different, but even the mentality would be I'd be very interested to know some tips. Is there anything from the higher level viewpoint you have, looking back on me now, a 28-year-old? I think he's 60 now, this gentleman." And I said, "What would be some advice?" And he looked at me, same vein as we're talking about here today, guys. And he said, I would pick, I would highly emphasize and specify what mentors you're choosing in your life. And recognize also how sometimes mentors and leaders fade and change. Those mentors aren't your ride or die. Sometimes they're your mentors that are necessary for a time, and then you grow, you learn, you move on, you adapt, and then sometimes that mentor has done their part and you're not dumping them, but you get to move on and find other people that are going to help you keep growing. He says, I encourage you to keep climbing and finding different mentors that are going to help you be what you need to be to get to the next level, and then keep focusing, just keep repeating that step over and over again to keep getting to the next level. Now, it's easier said than done, obviously, right? It's easier said than done to say, yeah, just find good people that want your best interest. They're good, they're healthy, high-level leaders, and yeah, just ask them a bunch of questions. I get that. I know I've already alluded to some of those principles. But like I said, even with Gary Vee, the principle still remains to elevate yourself. You need to elevate your mind. You need to elevate your critical thinking, your attitudes, your attributes, the way you process information, the way you analyze opportunities or recognize traps or setbacks. And that can only come by elevating your thinking and elevating the people that you learn from, you glean from. If you're frustrated as to why you don't have business sense, you can go to the library and grab some books. There are tons of YouTube videos. And eventually you'll find maybe there's conferences or there are online communities dedicated to helping people succeed. Now, some of them aren't always the most affordable, but sometimes people are doing it for free because they want other people to succeed. That's a true leader, and John Maxwell would say that true leaders want other people. The true win comes from helping other people rise up and succeed. That's a true leader. And so when you find true leaders, you're going to be able to point at them and be like, whoa, there's something about that person, that lady. She identifies people, she identifies in people what they need to work on, and she helps them get to the next level. She is an amazing leader. I need to chase her. Absolutely. Whether it's her YouTube content, her podcast, her teachings, her books, or maybe, like I said before, maybe that person that you're hearing good things about is actually a friend of a friend in a personal circle. And no, you are not being rude or creepy by reaching out to them out of nowhere saying, hey, I want some advice. I want to know what it takes. Do you have any suggestions, any first steps you would take? Guys, I'm going to tell you right now, LinkedIn, I used to avoid that platform like the plague. A lot of people thought it was just the boring corporate Facebook. It's not. LinkedIn is just catching fire right now. It's been awesome for inspirational content, for connections. People want to connect on LinkedIn. They want to network. It's that buzzword network, right? And yeah, a lot of that's part of my job right now with the position I've been given, but some of it's just been so advantageous of just being like, hey, you don't know me, but we have a mutual connection on LinkedIn, and you can message them and just say, I have a question. I've kind of observed some of your timelines here, some of the content you've been putting out, or some of the people you engage with on LinkedIn. I just wanted to know if you could spare any advice, or if you have any thoughts, or if you ever be open to just having a quick chat or a quick emailing kind of back and forth. And guys, I have not had one person say, you creepy bugger, get away from me. You creepy person. How dare you have the audacity to reach out and ask to self improve, and you dare ask me my opinion because you think that I'm a high level leader or I've got some content that helps you? I'm absolutely insulted. See how stupid that sounds? Like that's not going to happen. That's all in your head. Don't worry. People want to see, if they're healthy, they want to see other people win. Now, there are successful people that don't want to see people win. And let's just kind of transition to that for a moment, because then we're going to round this out and end the podcast here. I don't want to go too long. But there are people that are bucket dippers. They are the hang downers. Okay, and I already alluded to them before. You got to now also take a step back and strategize about who you're spending your time with, who you're engaging with. Because, guys, it does drain you. It does drain you when you are surrounded by people who are not looking out for your best interests, who are not looking out for your success, who are not looking out to make you better. It will drain you. It will kill any inspiration. Think of that little inspiration inside you as like a flame or a spark, and it gets lit up inside you because someone has told you they believe in you, they believe there's a greater purpose within you, and then you're like, whoa, and you leave that conversation feeling like $1,000,000. You're ready to change the world. Yes, you bet. Today, I'm going to change the world. Today, I'm going to make some choices and set up some habits that are going to get me to that next level. And then what happens? They sometimes go back to their normal social circles and they get mocked for telling people about how excited they are to pursue something. They get mocked or made fun of or even criticized or tore down because the other people in their circles are so insecure that they can't bear the thought of a good friend of theirs trying to make steps without them, trying to move on from them because their friends want to win. And you guys might think that that is a Hollywood-esque, not likely scenario. No, that happens all the time. Sometimes it doesn't look as malicious as that. Sometimes it's just very passive. Like sometimes your friends might not be negative towards you, but they also empower you and enable you to be lazy. They might enable you to not do anything of value, and they just want to sit in their little bubble with you, keep their comfort zone alive, and not do anything productive. Those people are just as dangerous as the people that on purposely try to maliciously tear you down. If anything, they could be more dangerous because they're not easy to spot as bucket dippers. When am I talking about bucket dippers, bucket fillers? Years ago, when I was working my other job in insurance, someone told me about this analogy this kid gave their parent of you have a bucket and it's of your health, your emotional well-being. You've got people that you hang out with that take from your bucket because you're giving to them and they're not giving back. Those are called bucket dippers. They're taking stuff out of your bucket. There's bucket fillers, people that come to you and they're very life-giving, they're very encouraging, they're very wholesome, right? You know what I'm talking about, the people you feel safe with, and they fill up your bucket. Okay, so that's what I'm talking about with bucket dippers and bucket fillers. You can use that one for free because it's not even mine to give you. Okay, with those hang downers, you do have the power to be the hang-ups for them, but you have to be careful because like I told you with that chair analogy, it doesn't always work. It actually more often than not does not work more often that you can pull people up. It is always, it mostly, I would say 80% of the time, it's that you get pulled down. So what do? Change the ratio. I'm going to say that again. Change the ratio in your life. How much are you letting people or content pull you down? And how much are you letting people and content hang you up, right? Change the way that you fill yourself up. If you're always listening to music in the car and you've got buddies that aren't always the most inspiring or girlfriends that are not the most inspiring, change it. Try to find a podcast. Maybe listen to that podcast just once a week. You don't need to listen to it every day, guys. Don't kill yourselves. I always hated that self-comparison that I did on LinkedIn, looking at these inspirational leaders telling me about their 3-hour meditation yoga, then 4-hour reading session in the day, and then they drink a cup of coffee and talk with a world leader about inspirational things, and then their day is done. We're not that, okay? I get that. Don't compare. Do what you can do. Find your balance. But maybe that involves you listening to an inspirational podcast to empower you to be better, to empower you to chase your dreams and do what you're afraid of doing. Because maybe that's the thing that helps change your ratio. If none of your friends or family, which is very unfortunate, I feel for you, but that's why I'm here too. I want to encourage you. Maybe not be someone you can hang up with, but I'll at least push you to hang up with someone, right? I think at least I want to be a bucket filler. Is what I want to be. Maybe that helps you change your ratio, but you got to change your ratio. If you find right now that you are being pulled down every time you're inspired to change your life, pursue your dreams, and then other people quickly snuff it out, there's a ratio problem. And so either there are some very unhealthy people you need to actually distance from in your life, or maybe they're not that unwholesome, but maybe your ratio is they are giving you more input than the people or resources and content that are going to fill you up, that are going to fill your bucket, that are going to cause you to hang up with people. Okay? So that was just on my mind. Those are my thoughts. I'll end with this. One of my old mentors, one of my people in my youth, he was an absolute
critical mentor in my life. He taught me about finances. He taught me about boundaries. He taught me about the basic principles of conflict resolution. This man is a champion. I'm going to identify him. His name is Dan. Marvelous man from Medicine Hat. He's a successful business owner. He is who I want to be when I grow up. We obviously have different personalities, but he is someone I want to be when I grow up. And I'm trying to grow up, right? 3 kids, a wife. He posted something on Facebook that was phenomenal the other day, and it was, behind every successful athlete or team is a coach. Behind every successful team or athlete, there is a coach there. A coach tweaking, critiquing, strategizing, and empowering that athlete to be the best that they can be, to win it all. He says, a life coach is that for you. You are the athlete in your own story. I highly encourage you to look into finding a life coach. Now, he's a business owner and he's got the financial budget freed up and the priority to pay for a life coach. I actually met a life coach. His name is Dietrich, a marvelous guy. This guy's brain works. He's in the year 3020 when we're all in 2020. That's the kind of guy. And I'll touch on what Dan was finishing there. But Dietrich said the same thing. He's like, a lot of people think they can't afford a life coach. He says, but people, he says, I don't change my coaching fee for anyone, whether they're on minimum wage or they're a billionaire. He says they all pay the same fee, which should say something, because the minimum wage people, they pay me. And they know that it's an investment. I'm not going to lower my cost to them because this is an investment in themselves. And then the billionaire, he said that one guy was a very wealthy person. He would always fly, he would fly Dietrich to him or something like that, and he would meet with him. And occasionally the guy would say, why don't you lower your fee for me? Lower your fee. I'm a regular customer. And he's like, it's not about the fee. It's about the investment in yourself. My fee will never change because I am Dietrich. This is my cost. And he says this other guy's a college student, and he would bring an envelope with cash and lay out the fee in exact dollar bills to show, I have calculated this. This is what you are due. Let's get to work and coach and strategize. And so what Dan was saying is, if you're really trying to get to the next level and you think you have a budget for it, explore also looking into life coaches. And if you guys are interested in getting life coaches, I am connected with Dan. He has some resources and some strategic tips on finding those life coaches. And I would gladly connect you guys together so that you could do some research on that. Okay. So I want to end it there. I don't want to go too long. I'm trying my best to keep these podcasts short for you, short-ish. We're not going to go for the hours of old. Also, I got some editing to do, right? I got to get this on YouTube. I got to get this on the podcast platforms. But here's what I'm going to say. It's good to be back. It's good to be back. My heart already talking like this and projecting this. Yeah, like I said, the audio quality isn't there, but my heart already feels excited because I love talking about this stuff. And I want to encourage you guys out there, you're not alone. There is someone that believes in you. There's actually more than just me. There's tons of people that believe in you. You just got to find them. And if you want to find them together, you're welcome to join me in this journey together. I'm trying, like I said, to build a community. Twitch is more of the hangout with my gamer friends, right? But yeah, it's funny. The gamer friends that hung out with me were some of the first believers in my podcast. So I hope that they were never insulted. Whenever I alluded to in past podcasts about how I wanted to reach out to gamers and hang out with them and encourage them, because some of these guys were amazing. They listened to the podcast before I even went on Twitch. And you guys know who you are. Thank you for believing me. But that's still the community I want to build and grow. So if you ever want to consider it, you don't even have to be a gamer person, but if you ever want to come on and say hi, 9 to 11 p.m. Mountain Standard Time every Wednesday, twitch.tv/RussRantz. That's twitch.tv/RussRantz. You can find me. Click that follow button if you want to support. If you ever want to financially support, it's never an obligation, you guys, but it is an opportunity that Twitch has now given me because I'm a Twitch affiliate. You can subscribe or you can donate. And all proceeds go to building this platform better. I would like to eventually get better microphones for the podcast and for the stream, better cameras, better computer. But you know what, guys? It's a long journey. So that's all I'm going to talk about support there. But you can find me. We're going to have the podcast, hopefully twice a month. We're going to have some YouTube videos of other relevant content. Hopefully you enjoy it, okay? So I just want to say it's good to be back. If you have any questions about this podcast episode, or if you want to talk to me about any of it, that is what I love to do. This is what I love to talk about. Hit me up. You can email me at russrantzreal@gmail.com. That'll also be in the outro, russrantzreal@gmail.com, or you can find me on Instagram at RussRantz.
Okay, I'm going to sign off for now. Find your hang-ups. If you need help finding your hang-ups, reach out to me and let's try to build a plan together because I want to get you there. Okay, so I will be seeing you guys either in the next YouTube video, on the next Twitch stream, or the next podcast. I appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Russ Rantz podcast. Feel free to like and subscribe to support. I love hearing from you, so make sure you send me any feedback and show ideas at russrantzreal@gmail.com. You can find me at Twitter at RussRantz1 and Instagram at RussRantz. Thanks so much, and I hope to see you next time. Seriously, take care. Bye-bye.